please take it slow. Wait for them to ask you who you know.
After a couple sensational years climbing the pound-for-pound rankings, smashing monsters and snatching the bantamweight crown, 2019 has been a catastrophic fall from grace for TJ Dillashaw. Less than 3 weeks in, he lost his bid to become the flyweight champ. It took Cejudo less than 40 seconds to big brother his ass and dispose of him. On a side note, of the 5 champion versus champion fights, the smaller fighter has won the last 4 in devastating fashion. Conor annihilated Alvarez, Cormier smashed Stipe, Nunes mopped the floor with Cyborg, and controversial as it was, Cejudo just walked right through Dillashaw. GSP is the only guy to beat the smaller champion, all the way back at UFC 94. I'm not going to read too much into it, size does matter, as Holloway just found out, but it is quite the hot streak for the smaller champs. Dillashaw's bid to become champ was unique. He was the first to try to do so by dropping down and challenging a smaller fighter, a fact which, right off the bat, was unpopular among many fans. Compounding the unpopular move, heading into the fight, TJ pretty much framed himself as a bad guy. He was coming down in weight to try to snap up the flyweight strap, and the idea that this may be the demise of the division didn't bother him in the least. He was perfectly happy to destroy a division which contained one of his longest sparring partners, Joseph Benavidez. Cejudo played the part of the savior, fighting on behalf of guys like Benavidez.
I'm doing it for all the 125.
And that's your problem.
So you know.
I'm doing this for myself. This is a selfish sport. I'm going out there and I'm winning for myself. I'm gonna be the greatest.
And that's exactly who he is. And that's exactly who he is. You have friends like Joe Benavidez. You have guys like Shorty Torres living with. These are all flyweights, bro. Where's your respect, man?
That second belt.
It's about myself, man. It's about my legacy. It's about feeding my family, feeding my son down there.
Now, whether TJ should have been concerned about the flyweight division is almost inconsequential. When you consider the fact that far from being indifferent, at times he almost appeared to relish the idea of ending flyweight. And that's a pretty critical distinction in terms of the taste it might leave in a fan's mouth. This was people's jobs on the line here. It was fucking ruthless.
In the UFC. The UFC wants to get rid of the division in my eyes. They hired me to go down and close it and get another belt in the process. You know, it's a win-win for me, man. They're paying me a load of money to move down and kill the 125-pound division and collect the second belt. So it's game time. And if I'm the champion of both weight classes anyways, why don't we just consolidate it, you know, because if I'm able to be a 125er and be a champion at 135er, then, you know, it's one belt anyways, so bring it at 135s.
I mean, TJ can say he was only concerned about feeding his family, but the reality was the two weren't mutually exclusive. TJ was going to be feeding his family whether they kept the division or not, so his cold-blooded stance on flyweight seemed just that, cold-blooded, unnecessary. But to the delight of the flyweight division, TJ got his ass whooped. His bad intentions never got a shred of momentum in a fight. In the aftermath, his popularity continued to plummet. He simply would not eat the loss in a remotely classy fashion. It can very easily be argued that the stoppage was early, especially considering how TJ's bounced back in the past. But his refusal to take a philosophical or a shit happens attitude got under the skin of many fans.
Sucks, man. Sucks to have it stolen from you. You know, I worked my butt off. So much better than that. And, you know, it's a title fight. It's a champ versus champ fight. And you're going to stop the fight like that? I'm in on a single leg. He says, hey, show me something. I said, I'm okay. I'm on a single leg in a scramble. He stops punching. He's defending a single leg, and you're going to stop the fight? It's just ridiculous, man. It's pretty pathetic that I have better knowledge than that ref.
You know,
if I'm going to lose, I want to lose. I want to lose if I'm going to lose. Look, congratulations, Henry Cejudo. Awesome. Great job, man. Awesome. You know, but you did not win. You did not win this fight.
Do it again.
I mean, if the UFC wants to make that shit right, I mean, it would be different if I went and lost. Yeah, sure, just do your title fight, 35s, give you your shot, but I did not lose. I would be like, I wouldn't even accept that victory from, like, as Henry Cejudo. Yeah, of course, whatever, he's going to be happy. He got the belt, he won, he gets the state champion. But how could you be happy with that victory? That wasn't a victory.
Just look at the admiration people have for guys like Lawler and Mighty Mouse, who have both reached the pinnacle of the sport, but can still grapple with life's up and downs. They can accept defeat, even when there's a solid argument they shouldn't. Dillashaw is very much the opposite. I mean, he's an admitted sore loser, and feels that's what makes him a competitor. But regardless, it's just another piece in a falling house of cards that is TJ Dillashaw's career, and the public's perception of him. Because on March 20th, TJ Dillashaw released a statement informing fans that he was relinquishing his belt following a failed drug test. After the leeway Jones got, it seemed absolutely unlikely to me that this would be an open shut, hands in the air, you got me type scenario. The New York State Athletic Commission confirmed he'd been slapped with a fine and suspended for a year. And the entire sport descended on Dillashaw, taking shots and talking shit. It was open season. This guy did not get the benefit of the doubt. Cejudo said he'd never fight him again. But all of a sudden, Uriah Faber wants to come out of retirement and fight his fucking ass. McGregor is dancing on his grave. Ray Longo is losing his shit. It's fucking ugly. Bisping had one of the more on-point hot takes on this situation.
No motherfucker relinquishes their belt out of respect for the rest of the division, right? I'm not, if I was fighting, I mean, I know I've come out of retirement now and I'm back. When I get my belt back, it ain't about the rest of the division, it's about me, okay? I'm not going to relinquish my belt once I destroy the rest of the competition, become the champion again. I'm not going to relinquish my belt for the out of respect to my competition. You just wouldn't do that. So that in itself, and I apologize if I'm wrong, is almost an admittance of guilt.
Most people had their minds made up, and Dana had already moved on to Morai Cejudo for the vacant belt. On April 9th, they were all proven absolutely correct. USADA handed out a 2-year sentence. Now, I'm not saying I took any satisfaction in Dillashaw getting popped, but the fact that this case actually had a concrete resolution was satisfying after dealing with all the bullshit and confusion of Jones' situation. It became pretty clear why Dillashaw gave up his belt. He tested positive for EPO, and as Jeff Nowitzki noted, it's only available in injectable form, which is pretty much checkmate. I mean, it's incredible that in this day and age, with all the exclusives that get rolled out, TJ couldn't find a single fucking one. But using a substance that's only available in injectable form, it does not get much more red-handed than that. Not unless he uploaded photos of him injecting himself on fucking Instagram. Cruz once called him Silly Dilly, and I think that's the fucking appropriate name, because it was just a silly fucking move. So let's just sum up Dillashaw's 2019 so far. He drops down in weight for a champ vs. champ fight, is almost seen to relish the demise of Flyweight. He gets steamrolled in 40 seconds. He's not gracious in defeat and is viewed as a sore loser. He pops for a controlled substance, relinquishes his belt, catches a fine, and when the details emerge, they leave absolutely no doubt about his guilt. Now that is quite the start to 2019. I mean, where the fuck is this going? His prints are found at the scene of a murder. The producers of Karate Kid sue him for copyright infringement. CCTV footage emerges of him pouring gasoline on Notre Dame. It's fucking nightmarish sequence of events for Dillashaw. You know, people complained about the stoppage, but in retrospect, I think we can all thank God Cejudo won. You know, TJ was moving down to try to destroy a division. We now know that not only was he happy to do it, he was more than happy to cheat his own sparring partners out of a fucking career. Imagine, just imagine, if TJ won, they closed Flyweight, putting a number of fighters out of a job, and then TJ popped. Cejudo repeatedly framed himself as a heroic champ, standing up for the division, and in the end, he did likely save us all from an absolute shit show. Some people don't like Flyweight, but I'd have to imagine nobody would want to see it go out like that, in a controversial clusterfuck of bullshit. I know it's already been sufficiently lampooned. Everyone's already had a good hearty laugh at this. But Sam Sir Lancelot Calvita, TJ's strength and conditioning coach, made the following statement. Now, I'm not going to read it all, but I would be remiss not to comment on the utter absurdity of this statement. He begins, "It is with a heavy heart that I, Coach Cal, the owner, founder, and purveyor of the training lab, have recently seen the defeat of one of our family members in recent months." That's okay. You know, good start, makes sense. But he continues, this defeat is not due to the skills and combat savvy of an opponent of flesh, but rather a defeat at the perilous hands of a far more sinister foe, the demon of self-doubt, which haunts each and every one of us at one time or another in our lives. Okay, here we go. I mean, this is just the beginning of it. This next bit is especially egregious. As a man of few words, preferring passion and belief as a shield to be carried out upon, I am bemused to careless and reckless dialogue, for no other purpose than to make myself heard among the masses plagued by willful ignorance. It's just unbelievable. You know, this statement was given to MMA Junkie. I think it was written on a piece of parchment with a candle wax seal, delivered by a pigeon from the 16th century. It's just fucking absurdly out of place. I mean, if I didn't know better, I'd swear it was Macbeth or Hamlet who got popped for steroids. Now is not the time to be practicing your fucking old English. Jesus. The training lab in no way condones or encourages our family of athletes worldwide to partake in the perilous downward spiraling helix of synthetic performance enhancement. I mean, I've never heard anyone marry the language of 16th century England with the scientific terminology of organic chemistry, and for good reason. It doesn't work. Anyway, there was one or two worthwhile points. Firstly, he's obviously distanced himself from any knowledge of the whole thing, making it sound like he knew nothing about Dillashaw's cheating. Now, I'm not going to speculate too much, but if you've ever listened to TJ talk about the level of micromanagement and microanalysis Sam does, it sounds a little suspicious to suggest he didn't at least know. But like I said, I'm not going to say much more on that. He's also put together a kind of a sympathetic stance on Dillashaw's cheating. Although not right and inexcusable, TJ succumbed to the relentless pressure to win at any cost, for the purposes of appeasing his employers, pleasing his fans, and providing for his family. A sentiment that we can all relate to. Okay, so, to be honest, I would have some sympathy for those types of rationalizations in the pre-USADA era. You know, if you were fighting in a sport where you felt upwards of 50% of the fighters are on gear, then you'd have to seriously ask yourself, which fighter am I going to be? Am I going to be the honorable fool who gets his dreams crushed by a filthy, roided-up juice monkey? Or am I going to be a glorious, roided-up juice monkey, smashing the fuck out of innocent fools, crushing their dreams, and collecting checks? If there's only a slight chance of getting popped, you'd almost have to assume your opponents are on roids. At least some of them will be. So in that type of scenario, I could almost understand the decision to juice. If not morally, at least from a game theory perspective. But after USADA, there's not a huge argument for simply trying to level a playing field. And to Sam's argument, taking steroids doesn't appear to be the best way to feed your family. It seems to be one of the quickest ways to fuck your whole career up. And Dillashaw is about to be a shining example of that. Calvita put a sympathetic spin on the whole thing. It's not about himself. It's about his family. Think of the children. It's about appeasing his fans. It's your fault. The reality is, this was just the decision of another egomaniac who wanted all the glory for himself. And even though that doesn't sound as nice, it is totally human. TJ is an ultra-competitive guy. He wanted to win for his own selfish needs, and that's it. That's his decision. But let's not try to make it sound selfless. This was not a selfless act of devotion to his family or fans. Dillashaw is competitive to an almost psychotic degree. It was glorious to watch, ultra-exciting style in a cage. But in the end, it appears he was competitive to a flaw. And that's about the most charitable spin I can put in the whole thing. He was competitive to a flaw. TJ can return in 2 years from January, and he'll be doing so at 35, and presumably off the gear. So, while it's not fair to say his career's over, it's very likely his best days are behind him, and it doesn't seem inappropriate or premature to ask questions about his legacy, and to try to evaluate the impact of this test. With his second win over Cody, he had slid into the discussion as the greatest bantamweight of all time. 2 wins over Barao, wins over his son John Lineker, and a razor-thin decision loss to Cruz. But this was a catastrophic hot test from a public perception standpoint, because of his great rivalry with Team Alpha Male. Cody and Favour have been throwing accusations for years. I hate to admit it as someone who has always supported Dillashaw, but it does seem likely to me that he has been a dirty fighter for a long fucking time. There's been a hell of a lot of smoke, and now we've got some actual fire. As I said, Team Alpha Male had spent 2 years rifling around through Dillashaw's trash and looking like fools doing it. But some of those arrows from their little arrow pouch have finally found a home.
Dude, I fought TJ Dillashaw for 8 years every day.
Not when it
Dude,
Why don't we ask him that?
TJ Dillashaw.
Why don't we ask
he
him
looks
that?
like a prepubescent little teenager right now because USADA came in. You look like a chubby.
So he's going to go that route, but he was training
that is the route.
He was training.
That's complete bullshit. That's actually, I didn't realize it was that serious. No, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe he's saying I look like a young boy because he's wishing he was that young. You know, he's an old dinosaur in there, but no, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. But that's complete bullshit. I think he's just trying to, like I said in a couple of my other interviews, is stay relevant.
Without the rivalry, it would be totally believable to suggest that this was a one-off. The circumstances of the fight were unique. Cejudo just beat Mighty Mouse in a 5-rounder. TJ, who's known as a cardio machine, could have been concerned about the impact cutting the extra weight might have on his gas tank. The guy can say it was an easy cut, but he looked like an extra on the Dallas Buyers Club. I wouldn't be surprised if he popped for AZT. Jeff Nowitzki has stated that he was previously tested for EPO for his fights with Cody, Lineker, and Assunção, and they all came back clean every time. So it would be very believable that this was his first defense, if it wasn't for his rivalry with his former camp, including one of the dumbest quotes of all time, where Cody made it sound like Team Alpha Male were basically a bunch of junkies sharing needles.
One of the accusations made at TJ was the fact that he'd taken some special supplements.
Oh, yeah, the guy's on everything.
Yeah.
He's on everything.
TJ?
Yeah, I'm on everything. They test me every day, so I'm on everything.
Funny, you're the one that showed everyone how to do it on Team Alpha Male.
Yeah, I'm the one that's now bringing it in. Yeah.
Look at him. He has nothing to say.
Rose.
Garbrandt and Favour made it seem like TJ was sprinkling gear on his breakfast cereal, snap, crackle, and pop for steroids. And critically, Cody was able to name EPO in early 2018. And when you consider just how infrequently EPO is used in MMA, that does not seem like a coincidence. All this smoke coming from his former teammates makes a positive test that much more egregious. Because rather than looking like a single mistake, it seems like the validation of a narrative dating back to 2016. And so Dillashaw may have taken a rivalry over Team Alpha Male. But in light of this positive test, you could easily argue Team Alpha Male just took TJ Dillashaw's legacy. The whole thing finally collapsing like a filthy fucking house of cards.
You're playing a part, playing part, but there's no time.